Hello there, everyone, and welcome to a postseason edition of Washington Football's unfiltered show, The Beat, presented by FanDuel, official partner of the Washington Football Team. I am your host, Chip Brierre. A huge wildcard matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers requires a playoff caliber panel to break down the game. And for that, we welcome back Rhiannon Walker of The Athletic DC, who is joined by her partner in crime at The Athletic, Ben Standig. Both of them are on the Washington Football Team beat. And Brian Mitchell, former Washington Football Team player, who you can hear on the Team 980 and watch on NBC Sports Washington's coverage of the Burgundy and Gold. Ladies and gentlemen, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are coming to FedEx Field to play against the 7-9 Washington Football Team. It doesn't sound right on paper, but it feels right by Washington football standards. So I want to start with a one-word answer going around the horn before we dive deeper into this matchup, starting with Rhiannon. One word to describe the 2020 regular season for the Washington Football Team.
Improbable.
Improbable seems good. Brian?
Unexpected.
Unexpected. Ben?
I'll go with surreal just to shake it up.
Those are all fantastic one-word answers. I will go with this one, expected by Rhiannon Walker. That was 4 words, but she did call 7-9 in our first ever episode, so I got to give her credit right out of the gate. But the Bucs stop here. Credit Kyle or Ryan, our producer, for putting that one in. Do you think Tom Brady should be concerned about these dudes coming off the edge, B-Mitch?
Well, I think he should be when he goes into a game, but I don't think he's really overly concerned. You look at Tom Brady and you go back a few years when they played against the Denver Broncos, and you had Von Miller coming off the edge. And as good as Von Miller was that year, and he kept getting to Tom Brady, they finished that game with Tom Brady almost completing a 2-point conversion to win that football game. I think Tom is going to respect them, but he's not going to be afraid of anybody, just like Chase Young.
Well, obviously, Chase Young can have a huge impact. I mean, especially late in the season, he's just been getting better and better. He doesn't just make plays, he makes big plays. They really stand out, highlight plays. Ultimately, though, yes, this game is probably going to come down to, can Washington make Tom Brady at least uncomfortable? Like B-Mitch said, Tom Brady is not going to be afraid of this situation, but they're going to have to try to make it to make him uncomfortable in the pocket. If you look at the numbers in the seven games this year, the most games that Tom Brady faced pressure, Tampa Bay lost 4 of those games. Now, granted, some of those games were against New Orleans and Kansas City, the best teams in the league, but that is the hope for Washington. They're going to have questions on offense. The defense is going to have to make plays starting with that line.
I think they're capable of doing it. I mean, I think the fact of the matter is that they play the Detroit Lions and they play the Atlanta Falcons. Those defenses aren't comparable to Washington's defense. They're not even comparable to the front 4 nor the defensive 7 that they have. So, I mean, he did score 8 touchdowns, but against 2 bad defenses in the NFL right now, which is why they're not in the playoff race as we speak. This is going to be the game where Jack Del Rio is going to have to get very creative. Todd Bowles is going to throw his exotic stuff at Washington's offense. If they can get there with 4, that would be fantastic. That'll be the best case scenario. But if they have to send people, they're going to have to do it in very creative ways that Tom Brady simply just can't see coming. He's going to have to see ghost in this game, essentially.
Jack Del Rio can lean on the fact he's got the second best pass defense in the NFL, but he is 1-9 against Tom Brady in all the matchups they have faced. Brady's thrown 25 touchdowns against Jack Del Rio, only 1 interception. So do you think that the defensive secondary panel can keep up with Tampa Bay's weapons? I'm talking Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski. I mean, the list goes on even past those top 4 guys.
I think if the pressure gets to him, yes, they can. And I think that's the main thing about it. You know, your secondary may not be as good. Think back to when the New York Giants beat the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. And, you know, they had Jason Pierre-Paul and they had Tuck and all those guys. They did not have a great secondary, but they had a great pass rush, and they got to Tom Brady, and they confused him, and it caused problems.
The cornerbacks for Washington have largely held up this year. It's a little concerning that Kendall Fuller landed on the injury report this week with a knee issue, but my concern would be more the linebackers and the safeties. Obviously, there's been some attrition at safety, and the linebackers have kind of struggled all year. I would imagine Tom Brady is aware of that, and I could say like more Rob Gronkowski perhaps this week than the receivers, but clearly they have plenty of weapons to go around.
On the flip side, Alex Smith is the starting quarterback if he is healthy and ready to go. He didn't show a lot of mobility in that win against the Philadelphia Eagles, but the important stat that everyone points to, and we're going to do it here, 5-1 as the starter this season for the Burgundy and Gold. Now, how does this offense try to take some burden off of his shoulders? Antonio Gibson came back, looked fine against the Eagles. You also have some receivers who played well. Logan Thomas has surged, but this Buccaneers defense actually finished ahead of Washington football in terms of sacks with 48. So who wants to take it away and try and tell me how Alex Smith gets a little bit of the burden taken off his shoulders?
Well, the running game is going to have to come through. Now, the Bucs have one of the best rushing defenses in the league, and they're going to rely heavily on that. They're going to try to bottle up Antonio Gibson, Peyton Barber, their former starting running back, their J.D. McKissick as well, too. It's the same thing that they're going to try to do on the defensive side for Washington. Take away the running game and force them to pass. Make sure that they can pin your ears back. And the thing is that if Alex Smith shows any signs of not being able to move, then that's when the questions about Taylor Heinicke is going to come in. Because no, he is not as capable. No, he doesn't have the seasons nor the experience. But at least he has the mobility to get outside of the pocket and possibly see some things. He also knows the offense. Again, not as well as Alex, but he does understand it. Ron already said they're playing with house money at this point. They have nothing to lose. Nobody expected them to be in the playoffs. I said 7-9, but I didn't expect them to make the playoffs this season. And Ron even said this is not something that he expected in season one. He wanted an expeditious turnover, but did he expect to be NFC's champions in the first season he was in DC with everything that has happened this year? No.
He knows exactly what he's talking about. He once took a 7-8-1 team to the playoffs and upset an 11-5 team. We're going to get to that after the break when we go into pick'ems and X factors for this NFC wildcard game between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Washington football team. Ben, Rhiannon, B-Mitch, here on The Beat. We'll be right back after this.
We all know things are different. Keeping you safe is not. At Innova, we ensure the safety of everyone who comes to us with safe locations, safe supplies, safe cleaning, and safe practices. You're safe at Innova. Get the facts at innova.org/safety.
It's 2020. Let's make a splash. Play the DC Lottery's Roaring Cash.
Free healthcare. Hundreds to more than $1,000 per month in disability compensation and tens of thousands for college tuition. These are just some of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs benefits that may be available to veterans. VA is focused on customer service like never before. Choose VA and see why veterans' trust in VA reached an all-time high. Claim the benefits you've earned at choose.va.gov.
DC has a home for the greatest hits of all time.
That would be Michael Jackson for me.
DC's greatest hits.
Madonna.
Billy Idol. Live here.
Cyndi Lauper.
Bon Jovi.
94.7.
Blondie. The Eagles.
The Drive.
Hello and welcome back to Washington Football's unfiltered show, The Beat, presented by FanDuel, official partner of the Washington football team. I'm your host, Chip Brierre. Ben Standig, Rhiannon Walker, and Brian Mitchell are still with us to head into the second segment of the show and kick it off with Who You Taking? We start with the tight ends. Who would have thought Logan Thomas and Rob Gronkowski would be in the same conversation? But Ben, that is where we are. Who you taking?
Look, Logan Thomas has basically been, other than Travis Kelce and Darren Waller, the best tight end in football over the last 5 or 6 weeks, and Washington will lead him a lot. That said, I do kind of fear Rob Gronkowski this week. I mentioned the linebackers and the safeties are weaknesses on that defense. So I guess I'll go Rob Gronkowski, but Tampa just has a lot more options, whereas Washington really is going to have to rely on Logan Thomas.
The Washington D-line versus the Tampa Bay D-line.
I'm actually going to give Washington the lead on this one. I respect the heck out of what Tampa Bay is doing there. I know they finished ahead of Washington in terms of total sacks as well, too. But the one thing that I keep thinking to myself is that Chase Young of recently, he is just really heated up. Either he gets the fumble recovery, or he's forcing the fumble, or he's recovering the fumble that he forced, or there's Montez Sweat on the other side. He's batting the ball up in the air for somebody else to pick off, or like the weird fumble situation as well, too. I look at all those situations and say they're coming on at the exact right time.
So we go on to our final Who You Taking Brian Mitchell, coaching is so important, and you've had your great share of head coaches in your career. So Ron Rivera or Bruce Arians? And let me preface with this. Ron Rivera is 2-0 against Bruce Arians in the playoffs. He beat him in 2015, then again in 2016, wild card and championship round, respectively, with the Panthers. So who you taking?
Well, I'm going to go with Ron Rivera because of the way he exhibited himself this year. You look at what he was dealing with, you know, how his quarterback situation was, all the other things that he inhabited with this whole franchise. But the way the man has stood up and been just fantastic. And I think when you look at the fact of this team coming from how it was last year and the previous years, and how the guys think now, how they go out there and fight so much for their coach, you have to go along with that. Yes, Bruce Arians has been around a long time, had a lot of success. But we're talking about this year in this game.
All right, with our matchups picked, it's time to decide on who the X Factors will be. Presented by FanDuel, official partner of the Washington football team.
If this defense, which has been able to come up with turnovers of recently, and then also to Bruce Arians' point, when Alex Smith plays, the team is +3 on turnover differential. If there is some way that they can create some pressure to either get a fumble, to get an interception, or something along those lines, but put points on the board by the defense and take the pressure off the offense, I think that they are capable of playing in this game, or at least possibly upsetting in this game. But to Ben's point, Bruce Arians isn't underestimating them. He does not care about their 7-9 record. He knows they're Ron Rivera coach team. He also knows that Alex Smith's record is 5-1. That's all he cares about right now. And he knows they're coming on the road as well, too. So they are fully prepared for what they are coming to in FedEx Field.
Based off what Rhiannon said, I'm going to go with the interior line of the Washington football team. I believe they are going to have to get that pressure, collapse the interior of that pocket if they're going to win this game. If they cannot get pressure up the middle, it's going to be a long night. So I'm saying Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Tim Settle, those three guys have to come up and be good.
I mean, you know, I part of me just wants to like avoid the question and just go straight. It's got to be Alex Smith. But to play long, I'll go Cam squared. Because I think if you look at Cam Sims and Cam Curl, they're not the biggest names that are going to be in this game by any stretch. But on offense, for them to have a chance, the playmakers are going to have to make plays when they get the ball in their hands. And it feels like Cam Sims he's been able to do that when he's gotten the ball. Alex Smith missed him last week in the end zone. And Tampa Bay knows obviously about McLaurin and Gibson and McKissick and Logan Thomas. Cam Sims, maybe he's the guy that gets more one-on-one coverage. Can you get him the ball? And in the secondary, Cam Curl has been the guy who's been the playmaker. And if he can come up with a play or two, an interception, a play that forces a turnover, whatever, I think that could be big. So creating turnovers and then making big plays when you have the ball in your hands, I think that's why Cam squared is the sneaky play to watch.
Finding value in those late rounds. Cameron Curl, the 7th rounder. What a year he has had. And Cam Sims, Mr. August. Maybe he's Mr. January now. So let's get to predictions in this game. Who is going to win and what's the score? Ben, you ended the last segment. Start us off here.
Look, it would be this season has been so wild that to suggest that Washington can't get this done, you know, do that at your own risk. But that said, it's Tom Brady. It's one of the best offenses in football combined with one of the better defenses. Washington, when they hold opponents under 21 points this year, fantastic. I don't see that happening. And also simultaneously, I just don't know how they're going to score enough. So give me Tampa Bay 27-13. Washington's going to have to get some plays from special teams and turnovers to pull off.
I'm going to say 28-20 Tampa Bay.
Ooh.
To Ben's point, I'm not sure how Washington is going to come up with the points necessary. Again, it's like it has to be a big turnover. It has to be a special teams play. I don't know, maybe Steven Sims comes up with some sort of a special punt return, a kickoff return for something. Who knows? I'm not really sure where Washington will get those points, you know, with no crystal ball, no foresight other than what I can see on paper at this point in time. So I say 28-20, Tampa Bay wins.
I believe if the game is above 20 points, you're going to see Tampa Bay winning the game, probably 30 to maybe, let's say 17, 18, something like that. But if they keep it down below a 20-point game, and Washington defense has shown they can do that. They're giving up only 91 points in the second half the whole year. If they keep it as a low-scoring game, Washington win the football game. I say 17-14.
Got it. Okay, so there's a line here. 20 points is the line.
Yes, without question. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to let it slide. But this is bulletin board material. As Ron Rivera said, why not the Washington football team?
Yeah.
And that is it for the Beat postseason edition. A huge thank you to Brian Mitchell, former Washington football team player. You can listen to him on the Team 980 and on NBC Sports Washington's coverage of the Washington football team. He's a Hall of Famer in my heart. Rhiannon Walker and Ben Standing of The Athletic DC covering the Washington football team beat. I read all their articles and rate them, and Ben was surprised that I do that every single time. And I'm Chip Brierre, your host. Enjoy the game. We hope to see you again for the divisional round. But until then, hopefully there is a next time. Have a great weekend, everyone.
At Honda, we take the holidays seriously. With serious style and serious capability. So while others may be decking the halls, you could be dashing through the snow with the best value of the season. Now's the best time to get into a new Honda. KBB.com's best value brand for 2020. Visit Happy Honda Days at your local Honda dealer or shop online to get a great offer on the CR-V.
Our new house is amazing. Great street, huge yard.
There is a bit of an issue with our neighbor's fencing. At least Geico makes bundling our home and car insurance easy.
Which helps us save even more.
Hey, Sarah. Hey, Peter.
Touche.
What? Turn down.
For bundling made easy, go to geico.com.
It's 2020. Let's make a splash. Play the DC Lottery's Roaring Cash.
At Inova, COVID-19 testing of all patients having a procedure or surgery, continuous training of our team members, and thorough cleaning of our facilities are just some of the many ways we work to keep you safe. You're safe at Inova.
DC has a home for the greatest hits of all time.
That would be Michael Jackson for me.
DC's greatest hits.
Madonna.
Billy Idol. Live here.
Cyndi Lauper. Bon Jovi.
94.7.
Blondie.
The Eagles.
The Drive.
This winter, be confident in a rugged all-wheel drive Honda SUV. Take control with a reliable CR-V, the versatile HR-V, the 8-passenger Pilot, or the adventurous Passport, with features like Honda Sensing, magic folding seats, and 3 different driving modes. Now is the best time to buy. Don't miss your chance to get a great deal on your favorite Honda SUV. See your local Honda dealer and take on winter today.